Okay, start with that.
Hello, I'm Gina and Drakeford, and I'd like to give you a little background information about my journey. Um, from the age of 14, I was diagnosed with depression. By the age of 21, my illness had surfaced in such a way that no longer was it diagnosed as depression, but it was diagnosed as bipolar illness. And there were very wide mood swings. It became so out of control, and the depression seemed to take over. While I was at my first job of employment after graduation from Simmons College in Boston, Massachusetts, I worked for Xerox Corporation as a sales rep, and that's when it all began. I eventually resigned from the company because it was too high pressure. Now, shortly thereafter, I became very symptomatic, and it became very obvious that I was losing control. So to make a long story short, eventually I was taken off the streets and finally taken to a nearby community hospital where I stayed for practically a year. And it was a journey. It has been a journey for over 20 years, from the 80s until 2000, and I would say I've been here approximately at Care Plus almost a decade. As of August or September, it will be 10 years. Prior to that, it had been a revolving door for me in and out of the psychiatric wards. Now, I was bouncing around in and out, in and out, in and out, and my biggest problem was that I made my biggest mistake. I was always in treatment, but was never open to receive. I always thought I knew what was best. To my disappointment, and to everyone who loved me and cared about me, family and friends, they felt lost and helpless, and I felt hopeless. Although it was my fault to a great degree, one is responsible for being open to receiving the care from the health professionals that are in their that they are being treated by. I was told by the psychiatrist, never take yourself off your medication. But I knew all the answers. Why I was in and out and in and out, as soon as I started feeling much better, I take the medication and take it and flush it down the toilet and try to convince everybody I loved and who knew me that I was feeling so much better, I didn't need this stuff anymore. I didn't need it, but rest assured, within maybe sometimes 2 weeks, other times it lasted for 3-4 months, but always there was a relapse. And it took me over 20 some odd years to realize, to my detriment, I was not listening and being open to what my caregivers were trying to share with me. Now, one thing I will always take with me is something that was taught to me or made me aware of, was a psychiatrist of almost 8 years. She told me, Gina, Renee, you have the type of illness that can raise its ugly head at any time. So therefore, it is so important to stay connected. Connected in some way with an agency, be it one in which you're in groups, whatever they feel is best for you, a therapist, or a trained psychiatric social worker, or a nurse practitioner, whichever one is best suited for you. Why? Because they can see before you become so symptomatic that you have another breakdown or psychotic break which I had my last time, lose total touch with reality, they can sometimes, the doctor, tweak your medication just a little, get you right back on track, and you probably will not have a relapse. The third thing I would like to impress upon you is it is so important to realize that there is help out there. It took me 4 or 5 programs to come to the realization that there was one suited for me. But I had to learn the hard way. My last hospitalization, I was told by the psychiatrist, you will either be sent away for long-term treatment, or you can go to a day treatment program 5 days a week, all day long, and have home health aides around the clock. It's your choice. Needless to say, I opted for staying in my apartment for almost 17 years at that time and put up with home health aides being in my home, watching over me, rather than be sent away to a place where maybe I would never return to the outside world. So, basically what I'm saying to you, it's a journey. It's your journey. It's a process. And the people who love you, they feel equally as hopeless as you do. And as I was growing up, I saw so many people in the health professions that sometimes in the media I would see mental health patients, but none of them looked like me. And all of them tended to look as though there was something really wrong with them. The medication maybe wasn't right, their speech was slurred. So for me, I felt like, I don't want to end up like them, and they say they're at a good place. Well, right now, I am having what I call a healthy lifestyle. Granted, I will never return to corporate America. I will probably never work a full-time job. But Care Plus has given me the opportunity to use this place as a platform to utilize my educational skills, my creative skills, my ability to try and be a positive peer role model for my peers. I've been able to do programs here specifically for my peers, because what I'm trying to say to them and I'm trying to say to you, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. And I would just like to close with a poem that I wrote, and it has followed me for many, many years. And it goes like this. I may be down, but never out. I'm sure to rise again. And when I do, I'm coming back fighting with all the strength I have within. If I can do it, you can do it too. Recognize your strengths, recognize your weaknesses, and be open to being where you're at. And there's joy in the journey. And my spirituality was the first thing that opened me up to receiving what a wonderful program like Care Plus of New Jersey had to offer me. It has changed my life and almost a decade, free from bondage.
Perfect.